everyone. This is Norhayati Rafida Abdul Rahim. Uh, this time we will look into the aspect of self in communication. This is not really about you and yourself. I mean, you communicate with yourself, but this is the whole thing about yourself. Yeah, imagining the appearance, the behavior, and then the internal aspect of yourself, such as perceptions, expectations, emotions, which anything when it comes to self. Why do we need to learn about self? Which is a good question. We need to learn about self and others, in fact. First, we need to learn about self because we need to know who am I, who are we. Realizing or knowing about yourself more than anybody in the world is an advantage. Is an advantage for you. We do not limit ourselves as in psychological aspect. Yeah, if you wish to relate with frustrations, happiness, mourning, then sadness. Yeah, it's more than that. When you know about yourself, about self, yeah, you will have the capability to deal with others. You know how fragile you are. You know how sensitive you are. And you can choose who you can choose the persons or group of people that you are comfortable with. We don't let ourselves in a group that you are aware of the negativities, if I want to put it as negative, or even is positive. We cannot know if that positivity suits us. Yes, we like anything that is positive. For example, having fun. There's nothing wrong about having fun. But since you know about yourself, since you know about self, that you do not like to mingle around with certain of group, even though it is about happiness, having fun, then you will have a choice to leave that group. Yeah? This is what I mean by advantage. Same goes to groups that has negative vibes. By principle, by book, if you want to say it, we don't want to be with them. But sometimes we get ourselves involved, yeah, accidentally and without the purpose. So if you know about yourself, then you can start measuring how do you want to deal with them, and how do you want to defend yourself if something happens. I I can see that most of our, I mean, in Malaysia context, Malay, speaking of the ethnic group called Malay, um, they have different culture in communication. This is a value that is shared among Asian, in fact. Yeah, being shy, for example, we always put um, ourselves as I would say, not inferiority, but you feel small about yourself. Do you know what I mean when I say small? Means that the others are better than you. So in this kind of culture, we usually reserve our comments, reserve our responses until they ask you to. Okay. mm, Saving face. This is also another element that we stop criticizing because we want to save other people's face, and we do not want to embarrass others. We do not want to embarrass others, and therefore we let things, even though it is negative, we let things happen, and we let them continue with whatever they are doing, just because we do not want to create any conflicts, and we do not mind to withdraw from that situation. I believe that we practice almost similar cultures, even though we have other ethnic groups like Chinese and Indian. When it comes to self-esteem, it's actually not about ethnic groups. No, that is about ethnic groups. Then we also have another element of um, what these status um, status like married versus unmarried, poor versus rich, black versus white. Well, this is normal. By knowing self or understanding self, it will help you boosting your confidence. It will help you to sorry when you know about yourself, then you know when to stop. That is why this subject is important in psychology of communication, because we have the opportunity not so sorry we have the the elements of development in this subject. We understand, then we identify the do and the don'ts before we can develop our self-esteem, self-image, as contributing to self-concept. So from the beginning of this subject, we emphasize on the development. Remember, I used the word development. if you look into this picture, the diagram, you can see the elements involved in self in communication. There are three of them. First is self-concept, self-awareness, and self-disclosure. These three are connected, correlated, without you have to remove or to exclude any one of them. A self in communication is a package. It's essential for us to understand the three self individually, the three before we can make any conclusion. So the first one is self-concept. Self-concept is about yourself, behavior, there are two types of self-concept. The first one is self-image and then self-esteem. There are issues when we speak about self-image. People usually tend to exaggerate about their image. Why? Why do you think they want to portray themselves as someone who is socially accepted as beautiful, for example, socially accepted as stylish, with modern attire, modern fashion, stylish, and you always tend to popular, or you want to have the image as an artist image, even though you are not an artist. It may not be reasonable if you think that why not? Why can't I? Is it wrong to dress like an artist, for example? Here, this subject will I will bring you uh, to the fashion aspects, because that is the trendy nowadays. We can see this social media portraying those fashions, and it becomes very popular, not only among teenagers but also among adults. You can see that people are concerned with fashions as much as we I'm looking at this example because it's very obvious, yeah, through the like symbols, sorry, the like uh, buttons on Instagram, Facebook, and we can see people selling a lot of stuffs related to fashions. So fashions what is it fashion? Why do you need to have those fashions? Because you think that it is the image of self, of yourself, what is about what how people see it, how people look at it, and then they interpret. Yeah. So self-image can be very can be a conflict, in fact. Yeah. I don't see why it should be wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong, but we will look through the slides and learn learn how this image actually can be developed by or through understanding yourself. And then we have self-esteem. um, Esteem is usually associated with moralization or morals, demoralize. Mm, esteem esteem is also um, connected with confidence level. Yes, that is the right word. Confidence level. Mm. you you feel good. Okay, this is another term, yeah? Like the song, if you remember, I feel good. Tana, 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 tana. Okay, the I feel good. how how do you define feeling good, and then connect this word with esteem? So self-esteem is important to be discussed in this subject because it affects how you communicate, how you actually you can be successful with good self-esteem. And then the second aspect is self-awareness, and this is about how much you are aware about yourself. There are four categories of self-awareness. The first one is open self, blind self, hidden self, and unknown self. We will look through one by one later in the next slide. Uh, and then self-disclosure is about it's about you revealing yourself to others. Some people like to share a lot. A lot is supposed to be between you. You tend to share about yourself if you feel there is a common between you, or you feel that people need to know who you are, and then you share to just anybody else. So whether or not it is good to have self-disclosure will depend on who you actually choose to talk to, and then you share this information. So the three aspect of self is a package of self. Sorry, the three aspect of self are the package itself. You can't remove Since this is a recording, okay, I have to remind you, we, there is a limitation about understanding this subject. Somehow I will do my best to explain and share most of these uh, the most of the discussions related to self. Definition of self-concept. We have to define. We need to understand what does it mean by self-concept. I explained to you as in in more understandable way about self, but here we will share with you about the definition. Uh, what do we mean by self-concept? Self-concept is the image of who you are. The image of who you are, which means the template or the the message that we want people to remember. So the image can be the not I'm not talking about the picture, but they will they will remember you as in the picture. It Since self concept is not only about what you wear or what the colors that you favor most, but it's more of the package of a self. Okay, so the image can be the way you speak, the image can be your smile, the image can be your dress. It's very unspecific. Yeah? It depends on what people actually choose to remember. Some they choose to remember about your face, some they choose to remember about your shoes, and it is very funny sometimes. This is the uniqueness of individuals when we have a freedom to choose what we want to remember. So as someone who is very conscious about self, this is it will lead you to the behavior of being perfection, or you try to complete those image um, according to uh, your dress. Yeah? And some will not mind about the dress, but they are concerned about how you speak, so they learn about communication. And the better your communication, or the better their communication, and the better people remember. We can see it on television. Remember when you watch news, and the newsreader, you can see how they put on their makeup, their postures, their positions, um, the way they play with their eyes, they move their eyes, because eventually people will choose what to be remembered. Uh, and if you may agree, sometimes we choose to remember the voice. Yeah, the voice. And in other times, when we example, it is an example, we can't see the person, but when we heard the voice, we remember who is he or who is she, because that is what we choose to remember. And some people uh, choose to remember the shoes, and when they pass any rooms, or they pass any place, when they saw the shoes, and then they know who is inside the room, who is inside the house, because they remember the shoes. So this is the image of who you are. Yeah? Again, you you can mold yourself to be whoever, or in what form, but it will not guarantee um, the choice that people will make to remember. So if you think it will be very tiring if you want to work towards this, towards meaning to make people remember about you. It will be very tiring. I would propose you to be just to be yourself, and let them choose what things they want to remember about you. And importantly, you must be portraying good self, not the bad self, because the good self will last. And oh, I'm sorry, because yes, the good things or the good image will last, but actually the moment people see or people know about the bad things about you, they will ignore the good things and remember only the bad things. See, you can see, you will agree with me that this is not your choice, this is not your something that you can control. You, yes, you try your best to portray the image of who you are, but then at the end of the day, they will decide uh, the type of image or the image that they want to remember. So self-concept is also about how you perceive yourself, your feelings, your behaviors, thoughts, strengths, weaknesses, abilities, and limitations. You must know what you are sensitive about. You must know when you feel happy. You must be aware when you feel when you are in weak condition. You know what you can do and what you cannot do, and your behaviors. You know what your behaviors like when you see an ice cream, for example. You know what your behaviors like when you meet an artist, especially the one that you love most. We we then realize there's so many things that we need to do, but this is not to say that you have to list them down. It will be more natural, yeah, uh, as a daily things happen in your life. But once you are aware of this self-concept, self-concept, uh, you will start doing your homeworks, and then you will do your best to have the good self versus bad self. Okay, it is like mental mirror that reflects how we view ourselves, not only the physical features but also the emotional states, talents, likes and dislikes, values and goals. Speaking of likes and dislikes, people may look or may assess on Facebook, for example, what things that you like, whose Facebook that you don't like, or not don't like. I mean, you don't click on the like button, and the preferences that you made will be the image of who you are. The emotional state, for example, the way you laugh, yeah, so we laugh differently, and the way we laugh can be another can be an image that people remember. It is an it is sometimes complicated, about how people perceive you as self, uh, when the details that they choose to remember can be unacceptable for you. So it is an ongoing process where you have to sometimes execute major changes in order to fulfill other people's needs. So because of the consciousness, you then modify, you will work towards that changes because you want to fulfill the needs. The changes that you want to do uh, must must be planned. Yeah, you don't do major changes just because you want people to see that way. Yeah, you must be yourself. You must know what you like and what you don't like. Otherwise, the changes you do will not last, and then create another situation of distress, pressures, because you become tired. um, your expectations mm, becomes more, because you expect that people will behave in certain way when look at the image or the to remember about you. So uh, self-concept is important. I would say self-concept is important, and then it must be uh, assessed over time. Okay, then let's look into the another aspect. Yeah, before then you will understand better. So self-concept is your stable impression of yourself. What do we mean by stable? It means that satisfaction. It is a satisfaction. You are satisfied about yourself. Yeah. You you manage and then you deliver as a completion of the process, and developing the concept of yourself. So it includes both the physical characteristics and your interpretation of who you are and who you aspire to be. Yeah. As I mentioned previously, it's not really about the physical aspect of self, but also the behavior, the emotions uh, that build as a package. So this will be the meaning of self, and should be the interpretation of self, of who you are and who you aspire to be. If you think that you need to be looked as someone with sentimental or exclusive look, and then your expectation will define um, that interpretation as exclusive by others. Since this is the what I would say you you would want it differently uh, when that expectation is not fulfilled. Yeah. Since it is a process, you can always go back and then you modify. If you're not happy, then you modify again and again and again. So as long as you live, there's no limitations about this. um, there's nothing wrong about doing it. It is more about you and yourself, how how happy you are about yourself, and how do you want to improve yourself. I have the experience when this lady came to me, to teach her about communication. According to her experience with me, she found that the skill of communication plays an important role if you want to be attractive, or to be the attention, the center of attention, of other self. So I I taught her about being about the skills, and I also told her that communication is not really about the verbal, but also the non-verbal. How you walk, how you posture, you put your postures when you talk, when you communicate. It's a package. It's not only about the confidence level of giving the speech, but also the the behavior and the body expressions, the body movements. You can't really say something confidently when you put your back to others. Yeah. If you want, because people would interpret it differently. Yeah, still as not confident. So I gave her that skill of communication with the way she walked, and the way she smiled, the way she laughed, yeah, and the way she delivered the laughter. Yeah, you may say that, oh, how come that even I have to teach her how to laugh, because it matters. It doesn't mean that I made it. I made the laugh. I mean, I planned how I laugh. It it's not work. It does not work that way. But as you go along, since she wants to learn, okay, she wanted to learn, and she wanted to be to modify the way she laugh, for example. And for myself, I don't make it. I don't I don't really learn how to laugh, because on the aspect of self, the nature, being yourself, naturally is more effective. Yeah, and it's a gift, or is gifted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the God, that uh, you have that characters of having a good way of laughing. So it is very subjective. I don't want to say that if you do it that way, then you will succeed, or your self-image is good, because um, because it depends. Yeah, it depends on your circle, it depends on situation. To be honest, people tend to remember the way I laugh, because they told me that I have this infectious laughter. When I laugh, then people remember, and people will laugh together with me uh, um, when I laugh. So I feel weird. I feel sometimes uncomfortable when I know that people remember about how I laugh. So, but I cannot control. Okay, I really cannot control them, with the um, what they like and what they dislike about me. So the self is actually constructed through communication, that is yourself. It is the result how others speak to you and treats you, and how you see yourself. um, Self-concept consists of two parts, which are self-image and self-esteem. As I said just now, I just told you that is constructed through communication. Is yourself is the result how others speak to you and treats you. If they found you as interesting person, attractive person, and they will respond accordingly. They will respond with cheers. They will respond with enjoyment. mm, Enjoyment, and then they will feel happy talking to you. You can see it by yourself. You, even though this is not something you can plan, but you can see yourself if people or that person like to communicate with that person likes to communicate with you or not. Mm. If you are not comfortable, you may ask questions. You may ask them, hey, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with me? Can you share with me what do you think about how I communicate? What do you think about my attire? Yes, we will learn throughout these slides, and we see how we can actually um, improvise. If you feel or you think you need the improvements. The first one is self-image. This is like a mirror. When you look at the mirror, you can see yourself, you can see your body, you can see how you smile, and that mirror will assist you according to what you need, what you need to be, or what you need to, what image that what kind of image that you need at that particular time. As image is the image, meaning the outer part of yourself, even though it includes your behavior, your emotions, your feelings, but somehow or other that image is like a screenshot, okay, in someone's thought, in someone's memory, in someone's brain. Mm. That's why when they go to another place and when they find someone who is similar with us, or who looks like us, then they tend to say, I think you look very familiar to me. You look very familiar. I think I met you somewhere. I think I met you before. I think I saw you somewhere. Okay, that kind of responses you will receive because the image. Okay, then you may respond, say, oh, there must be my twin, there must be someone else, not me, who looks similar to me. Yeah, you will deny that because for you, you have not met him or her uh, as how he said it, or as what she or he said it. So and then very interestingly, when they say that they met us before, it's very coincident that the interpretation is also like 100% true. Yeah, 100% true. um and we will find it difficult to deny, because the image that they explained to us was like, wow, it can be me. and then you have difficulties to deny about it. Okay. um but this is okay, this is fine. uh you don't have to feel that you need to change over time. It's fine when people remember. It's fine when uh people like it or not. It's fine, because this is something that you cannot control. So now the next soft concept is self-esteem. Self-esteem is the confidence level, is how you portray yourself, is how you actually feel good about yourself, and becoming confident to deliver your communication. Communication is not only about the words, okay? It's not only about the words, or the nonverbal, but also the dress, your attire will communicate to others, okay? The way you play with your hand will communicate to others. The way you hold your hair will communicate that to others too. And then the way you walk is actually a communication to others too. Um, interestingly, um, the next time you feel that, oh my God, how I cannot do this, because it's like everything, like, because you are dealing with people, remember, you deal with them. Yeah, you cannot avoid those communication even though you do not want to. Let's say I don't want to talk for the whole day, I don't want to speak for the whole day. it the communication still occurs. Okay, how? Through our behavior, through, okay, when you go to the canteen, let's say you don't want to communicate, you don't say anything at all, and now you bring your plate, you can imagine that. Okay, you bring your plate, you walk, and then you go, you taking the plate, and then you put down the food. Okay, and then now you will agree with me that everybody has his own way taking food, and the way you choose, the way you ask the person, would you say, um because it's not really saying something, but when you say excuse me, and then you don't say excuse me, it means the politeness of who you are. Okay, uh or you may, okay, let's say you don't talk anything, you just take the food, and the way you organize the food on your plate, the way you organize the food on your plate, and then you go to the cashier, you want to pay, and then there will people see how you actually organize your notes, money notes, on your, in your purse, in your wallet. Do you uh, put it as all together, or you have a nice arrangement of your money notes, $5, $10, $20? This is all uh, contributing to your self-esteem. Okay, let's say you don't really organize your money notes, you just jump everything in your handbag. Okay, so when people ask, okay, it's 12 ringgit and 50 cent, and you look for those money notes in your handbag, you will feel shy. Oh my God, I don't organize myself. Now people see me as clumsy. People would see me as not organized. You will say, oh, sorry, sorry, I was very embarrassed. Give me some time, I will find the money. You respond that way, that is what we call as self-esteem. Even though you feel embarrassed that way, it doesn't mean that you want to improve next time. It doesn't mean that you went, because you learn a lesson, and then you go back, then you organize your handbag. No, I cannot, um I cannot be assured about that, because it's yourself. You can't really plan, oh, this today I had a bad day, people laugh at me because I didn't organize my handbag. I feel very embarrassed, and then I want to improve about it. Then tomorrow you become a different person, or become organized. It it is, if you have that, then meaning you are conscious and you are concerned about yourself. So if you don't change, even if you don't change, it's okay, it's fine, it's normal. It's normal. I found many people actually don't really care about how organized they are, and even though every time they feel shy, if they feel embarrassed, but it doesn't mean that they want to change or to be that good self. Self-image is the picture of yourself as a person that you believe you are. Okay, even though it is about disorganized, it is the image that you believe you are. Uh, the image of good, I mean, whether this is a good image or bad image are still very subjective. It depends on the society where you belong to. It depends on the cultures where you come from, um, mm, and also the language. Yeah. I don't say that this is very complicated when it comes to self-image, but knowing the self and knowing others will help you to improve that to improve the image. So be it, I mean, go with the flow. Look at the resources available for you to change. If you are rich, you will buy good stuff, expensive stuff, and it does make you look good. If you buy Mercedes car, for example, the moment you park your car, the image of yours will automatically be good, because the expensive car usually comes with rules, comes with status. Yeah? It is not about the poor, but the rich usually have that access and have that criteria in their life. And you will be surprised that those who drive Mercedes, BMW, what else we have, Bentley, for example, when they come out from the car, you can see that they may just have or put on slippers, not shoes, slippers with shorts, with t-shirts, can be sleeveless. The hem can be very messy, but still, since he drives the Mercedes, he drives a branded car, your interpretation about who is he would be maintained by the status, by the car that he drives. If you look at another person who is less rich, uh, who is not wearing or not driving expensive car, it's just a normal car, I mean not branded, not expensive car, and then when they come up with the way the same the way that person who drives the car, a Mercedes, you will definitely create or give a bad interpretation of the image. You will say that he is dirty, he is well disorganized, he is messy, he is because he's wearing slipper as well, so you say that he's not hygiene person, he doesn't care, and very unfortunate that the image of you, I mean, if you wish to create that image, it can be a bit difficult. So it also here we have it is heavily influenced by status, the roles you play, and other similar descriptors you use to identify yourself. If you want to be look like a rich man, then you will wear expensive attire. Okay? If you need people to see you as simple person, then you will design your hair, design your attire as not as a simple person. It also relies on how people view you. It is originally based on characterizations given as feedbacks by others through family roles, occupation, marital status, and religion. Okay, if this is accepted by by your family, then you will be happy uh, with your image inside the family. And then when they come up with um, you will have a split identity or split personality. You have different attire when you are with family, and then you have another attire when you are with your friends, because you want them, oh sorry, you need to be accepted by your friends, and you don't, and you are also it is also important that family accept you as who you are. It will be very more tiring because you have to work according to these two groups, and these two groups are different. I remember. And then when we look into marital status, it's very simple. When you know that he or she has many children, you know by the way they speak that they are married or not, and then your jobs, through your fashions, through your attires, and then family roles. That's why we have this first child syndrome, second child syndrome, third child syndrome, and the last child syndrome. There's no 4 or 5, 6, 7, blah blah blah. We only have this 4 syndrome because the characteristics are very strong, and it sticks with you wherever you are. People can easily interpret you. While religion uh, uh, eh, is also an aspect to make yourself appears as belonging to one religion, because the world now connected through this social media and the news, which which always share and show us how the people from around the world look like according to the religion, especially Muslims. So I yeah, you can you may know about the image through the feedbacks by the other person, by your friends. Once in a while it's good to know those feedbacks. It helps you to improve yourself. Mm. So self-image is something that, if you ask me whether this is important or not, yes, it is important. You must be conscious and concerned about your image. Mm. It will leave a lasting effect on other person who talk to you, who um, it's but it's not something that you need to worry so much. You are concerned, but you don't have to worry about. Speaking of feedbacks, mm, um, after having your image and then your self-esteem, yeah, you will receive feedbacks. These feedbacks are not necessarily um, in a formal way, like text, letter, email, but it the feedbacks are more natural, uh, are more promptu, are more I would say straightforward at that particular time of a conversation. What do you expect from the feedbacks? What do you find? What do you actually look at when you receive feedbacks? The first one is the confirmation. Mm, confirmation is about how the how much they perceive and agree about, they agree and accept you. Yes, accept you as someone who is um, normal, socially accepted, as opposed to weird, as opposed to abnormal. Okay, and usually this confirmation can be seen through uh, through their through I would say not connections, through the nature of that conversation itself. Okay, If they feel happy, they like it, they accept you, then your conversation will go on and on and on. You will find the commons there, and you will find the chemistry that both of you uh, accept each other in whatever image that both of you may have at that particular time. So it occurs when people treat you consistent with who you believe you are. For example, you prepare yourself to be accepted as having certain class or certain degree of life, and then they will give you that feedbacks according to the stages of life that you want to. You will see yourself as intelligent, and friends praise you for your excellent results in school. Yeah? You behave as a smart student, as being excellent in class. Usually people will give that feedback. I mean, to praise you, to say congratulate you. You believe that you have leadership skills, and your boss has asked you to lead one work team. Yeah, so is you can't deny that feedbacks, because you don't um, you don't ask them what to do. You don't ask them how they have to behave to respond towards you. It it will come together with um, your participation during that time. Okay. mm, that is about confirmation, where rejections is another issue, because nobody likes rejection. Nobody wants to be rejected. That's what I mean. uh, so the way others treat you is inconsistent with who you believe you are. For example, you believe that people will like you, and then they don't like in the real situation. So for example, Salina is appointed as the best student in school. Mm. But she's not selected to further her studies in any university. There are there is a contradiction about being smart. Yeah, being smart and yet not selected to further her studies in any university. There will come a point where people misjudge means misinterpret what she's actually having. So they see about you, and now herself, she will think that she is actually good enough, but the outcome obviously reflects otherwise. It will create confusion, it will create stress and pressures for her. Definitely we do not want that to happen, but since I actually mentioned many times since our first slide about control, um, we have to go to another level of thinking about expectation. When expectation always leads to frustration, when the expectation is not fulfilled by the result. So you think that it's not what you think, but you are good in your subjects, you did well, and then when you don't get a good place after you put all the efforts, you will you will get frustrated. This is normal, and there is always a way out. I mean, there is always a room for or space for improvements. You can choose, you can have other options, and these options are available, and these options are available means you need to find it, which one that is more suitable to you, and which is easier, which is faster. Be speaking of results, we need fast results and fast outcome. So these two will these two feedbacks are important in developing one's self-image. Self-esteem is another aspect of self-concept in which you you after you design or you plan about the image, and then you will feel about yourself, you will then um, have the experience about those changes. Okay, it's about how you feel about is how you feel when you say how you feel about yourself. It matters to you actually, not to others, because you can't share about how you feel with others, like I'm not happy with you, why you don't like me, I'm not happy with you. You can't really say that because self-concept is truly uh, involve yourself and not others, because you cannot control how they feel or how they accept us. It also the 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 effect is also influenced by their experience, the experience, yeah, um, that you have to go through. Okay, this feeling will then yeah, uh, this feeling then will uh, convince you uh, to deliver as good as good as possible. You um, you don't always assess. This is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Okay. uh, that it doesn't guarantee you, if you look good, for example, then you become confident. This is another aspect. It doesn't, some and many actually you see, those who have a good look, soft, um, good height, they can't speak well. Okay, um, that is why self-esteem is more subjective than the self-image, because self-esteem have certain self-esteem is influenced by your experience, by your background, by the family you come from. Yeah, will shape and will determine the confidence level. It relies on the positive or negative thinking that you place in your mind, and this positive and negative thinking um, um, uh, formed formed through formed uh, through the knowledge, the information um, you earned, you obtained um, in your life. If you have unfavorable perceptions of yourself, then you have low self-esteem. If you have favorable perceptions, yeah, if you have favorable perceptions of yourself, then you have high self-esteem. Interestingly, those I found, this is my experience, I found those students who are less excellent, achieve in their marks in the class, have actually better confidence level than the others who have better results. Because they are more natural, more interactive, because basically they are talkative. With that makes them have good self-esteem. Yeah, it, de- so it depends on your experiences, including failures and success. Again, it depends on how you perceive the failures. Yeah, if you see the failures are something, if you see the failures as evident that you can improve on, then your self-esteem becomes good. Yeah, and even the success, as I said, when I said about the student who achieve in the class does not communicate confidently, then that success is actually not well interpreted in herself, or in himself. So what should you do? Since success does not guarantee self-esteem, then what should you do next? That is where the training comes in. You need, they need, you need to um, look for your weakness. Sorry, you need to identify, a part of the success, you need to identify the weaknesses and the strengths, so you can develop upon those measures. Yeah, so you will increase your self-esteem. You communicate in a variety of ways whether or not you value yourself. At the same time, what other people view and say about you may affect your self-esteem. Yeah, you can't really control. Sometimes when the moment you accept, or you receive the view or how people say about you, um, that situation is that situation will determine how you feel about their response. If at that particular if that time you actually down, feel more demotivated, and of course when people say something bad about you, you feel frustrated. And at another time, another context, if you actually are happy, you have good mood, and then people condemn or criticize you, you feel okay, you are not worried, and then you say, okay, I'm sorry, I will improve next time. This is how we deal with circumstances, uh, uh, because there is another face, not face, there is another side of yours that people cannot see. In developing self-esteem, we are looking at many options. In this session, however, we will look into four aspects. The aspects of development for self-esteem. It is a continuous process in which you can always go back or revise any of these options for improvements. It is also important to remember that the self-esteem is vulnerable. It depends on the situation in where you are actually in. For example, when you were 15 years old, you have good self-esteem, and you've been giving you had um, you had given many um, lectures, or sorry, not lectures, but many, you deliver many speeches, yeah, in public. uh, Somehow, due to changes of the environment, or not only changes but also problems that you may have during on, on throughout the journey, your self-esteem may become lower, and it goes like that. It can rise up, and then it can also go down. So the first option that we may consider is looking glass self. Looking glass self is about looking at the mirror. You will look into the mirror, and then you measure uh, how would that changes may be relevant or not. Looking glass self, since we are going to look at the mirror, you will look into the physical part, and not the internal part. The physical part can be the attire, the the shoes, the dress. mm, as long as it is about your physical. Looking glass self does not identify the emotion because you cannot see that on the mirror. So for the internal aspect of self, you have to go for the next options, which is social comparison. In the community that you live in, uh, you have the opportunity to compare yourself with others. The comparison that we are talking about is the differences between you and others. You the comparison that you intend to do is not about implying who is the best, but here is about improvements where the missing or the the gap, yes, it's about the gap that exists between you and your friend will be the indicator of what should be improved. So social comparison um, may be very helpful in times, and because of um, the interest, that is another aspect where the interest that you want to be like her, that like him, or you don't want to be like him or like her. The person you want to compare with is also important. uh, he or she must have similar topic, similar interest, uh, similar background. For example, the both of you are from the same university, and due to the similarities, the comparison that you're going to have may not may be valid. And then you look into cultural influences. You can develop your self-esteem through um, cultural cultural definitions and the cultural needs. Uh, you will identify what is the do and don'ts aspect of that particular culture, and then you you will have to suit yourself with that community. So cultural differences is not something that need to be highlighted. To be highlighted meaning um, to be highlighted as a problem, but being aware about those differences, you can develop self-esteem accordingly. It is noteworthy that the cultures play important role in shaping um, in shaping the I would say not I don't say it's culture, but um, the moral values um, of that particular society will have an in-depth an in-depth of in-depth meaning, so you can suit yourself to that particular community. Mm. Because self-esteem, since self-esteem is fragile, you you must make sure that the action or the behavior or the words that you are going to use, yeah, um, similar um, are similar with the similar with the cultures that you are practicing. Yeah? So people will easily accept you, and um, acknowledging acknowledging your behavior, your actions, and your words as part of them. So the next techniques to develop your self-esteem is to have your own evaluation. Yeah, you have your own evaluation by looking at the surrounds you. If uh, if um, if your uh, your next action is acceptable in that particular society. It includes image and behavior. You don't do something that is against the the image and behavior of that particular areas. Your own evaluation uh, should be looking into um, should be must be, I would say that own evaluation must have basis. You don't jump into conclusion or be judgmental. So whatever changes as part of the development in self-esteem uh, have been uh, assessed and suitable with that community. Now I'm going to give you the example of self-concept. We will relate this self-concept with our daily um, with our daily life uh, into certain activities or into certain events. Now let's go to the first one on your right is self-concept. Okay, let's say that your self-concept is you are nervous with authority figures such as a policeman. Okay, when you come you have you were you were in the situation where there are policemen around you, what is your behavior like? How do you behave? You may feel anxiety, you feel worry, and you feel afraid, and in fact, if it's evident enough that you are guilty, then your behavior becomes different. I put it here, stammer or blush, where your face turn to red color because either you are embarrassed or you are worried or you are sad. So that is the behavior. And then when you show I mean you don't show, but your body naturally goes with that environment, sorry, with that situation. And then others will respond according to that behavior. They would see the difference, they would see difference, or they would see something actually happen to you, and therefore they they might either they might blame you, okay, or they might refuse to believe in you. Yeah. And when they have that kind of response, you would then perceive that event as the ignorance made by those people, the ignorance or the distrust, meaning they don't trust you. So that would be your perception. If you look at um, into this circle, you have to try to think of other events um, which reflects to the self-concept. Um, it can be explained when you go for interviews. For example, you go for interviews, this is for job, okay, and then when you attend the interviews, you will be that usually we will feel anxiety, we feel worry, and then we feel like shivering, okay. You keep on holding your hand together because you want to make sure that you will be fine, and you are able to control the situation. So when people see the discomfort that you are having, discomfort means you hold your hands together, your hands shaking, or you shake your leg here right and left, because you don't feel comfortable, and therefore they define you as not having confidence, or they would define you as having low self-esteem, um, which is not suitable for the job, okay. So this is normal, and the interviewees will look into um, the behavior of yours. So when they come up with a certain judgment or certain questions that challenge you, and you might start thinking that they are not interested in you, or they are not willing to give the job for you because of that, the criticism questions. So it goes like that. Yeah, there's a circle of that to explain the situation. um, and therefore in the first place, if you look at the self concept, the first thing first is not to show them that you are worried, to show them that you are shivering, or you don't like the job, you don't like them. You must be able to control the face, the postures, all the nonverbal, which may play a role in this um, in this role in this situation. So um, whether you like it or not, your body usually uh, respond in naturally. You can't stop the colors that turn up on your face. You realize it or not, the process still continues, and continues for every event from one to another. um, Speaking of events, starting from the moment you wake up in the morning, you go to school, you meet friends, and then you meet teachers, you meet your parents, you come back from school, you meet with the driver, taxi drivers, bus driver. Those events will eventually or will you like it or not, we go through those events, and this self concept continuously occurs in your life. So in order to have effective communication, you must be aware of each event, so you will be able to control and then to make sure that um, um, that people will respond accordingly, and not judgmental towards your behavior. You may want to show a different thing and then you say different thing. This will contradict, and then it will create conflicts. um, some people, when they are angry, they will say harsh words, they will say bad words, and this will hurt others. And where it's actually in your heart, you may not have any intention, but it happens because you throw it out through the words, through your behaviors. So psychology of communication teaches us about controlling and managing our behavior, our messages, through our words, our symbols, and in result, people will be happy, and you will make sure that every situation is handled properly. Now we are looking at self-awareness. We have covered the elements of self-concept, and the next one is self-awareness. If we can go back to the first slide, in which there are three elements in order to understand the self perception. The first one is self concept, and then self awareness. The third one is self disclosure. So in self awareness, we are looking at the model of Johari window. There are four panes for the window. There are four panes. They are called open self, blind self, hidden self, and unknown self. Four of these panes are different about yourself, and how other would respond to you. If we if you ask me whether these four happen concurrently, I would say no. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it happens from one to another, but these four pains explain there are situations in yourself that relate to open self, and some would relate to blind self, and some would relate to hidden and as well as unknown self. So let's look at the first one. Okay, the first one is open self. um, Open self refers to the situation where you share um, you share about yourself with others, um, not limited to secrets or nothing in particular, but as long as you share this information with your friends and they are also aware about this information, that's why it's called open self. You share with others and others know about this information uh, related to you. So when both of you, the other persons and yourself, are aware of this information, it's called of open self. Then we go to blind self. Blind self, it refers to the situation when you actually you do not know, uh, you you there are things that you do not know about yourself but others know. This is why is it called blind. It's like blind spot when you drive. When you drive your car, it's called blind spot, where other people know about you but you do not know about yourself. This can be your behavior, like um, biting your fingers, biting your nails, shaking your legs, playing with your hair. You don't realize actually you are doing it, but other people know. That's why it's called blind self. There are other things as well, not only what I have given you for the examples, but there are other things that you may do, but yeah, but you do not realize it, and you do not know, as is not part of your awareness. Speaking of hidden self, this is different from open self and blind self. Hidden self is something that you hide from others. It can be your secret, or information that you need to keep it for a certain period of time. When it's hidden from others, it's called hidden self, because nobody knows except you, or only a few number of individuals that you share. This is not something that you share publicly. Hidden self is more reserved, because you don't tell others about yourself. Once it is shared with others, it is not hidden anymore. It is called open self. Yeah, so meaning, as long as you keep it hidden from others, it's called hidden self. Once that information is shared with others, it is called open self. And then we go to the next one. It is called unknown self. Unknown self is more um, um, unpredictable than the others, because unknown self refers to information that you do not know and other people do not know as well. Both parties do not know about something that belongs to you. um, put it example, when in an event that you are asked to sing a song. So the moment you sing a song, then you realize that you actually can sing, your voice is good, you have a nice voice, and people then realize that you can sing. So when both of you are surprisingly um, mm, aware about these talents, about this information that you can sing, it becomes open self. But uh, but basically, at the early stage, it was actually unknown self. The most important thing is to remember that all the four pains uh, are with us. You can't skip any of these pains, because because of the constant changes um, that happen to us every day. What do we mean by changes? The first is experience, second is the knowledge, and then the third one is um, the uh, um, the thoughts, and then the number four is the feelings. So when, as long as these four elements happen in your life, it means these four pains will exist, whether you like it or not. For example, the secret, you may think that you don't have any secret, but actually you have. And for unknown self, you may think that there's nothing that you do not know about yourself, but actually there are things that you actually do not know. And it goes the same to blind self. When people know something about you, and yet you do not know about it neither. That is that these are the four things that contributing to self-awareness. As long as you are aware of these four, it means you are normal. You do it, you are fine, it's okay. Not knowing everything about yourself until someone tells you. So this self-awareness is important in building up your self-concept. From time to time, as you grow older, um, these four pains will be managed in better way because of your experience. You will not repeat the same mistakes as you did before. Since we are working towards developing ourselves, then it's very important for us to know how to develop our self-awareness. Previously, we learned about the 4 pins of self-awareness. We become aware the existence of open self, blind self, hidden self, and unknown self. Knowing that pains, the 4 pins, we can now develop our self-awareness through 4 options. The first option is to expose and increase your open self. This is about sharing. This is about revealing some of your information with others. Yeah. As the more you expose yourself, the more you actually increase the open self, you become more aware about aware of your weaknesses, your strengths, and over time you can always make improvements towards those weaknesses, or using your strengths at the right place. There are no shortcuts about developing self-awareness except considering that 4 pins. The second options that we have, the second options that we have is to pay attention. What do we mean by paying attention? In communication, we tend to neglect or to ignore certain clues from our friends. They give comments. They did tell you what things that they don't like or they like with you. Most of the time we tend to ignore because we thought that these comments, these opinions about you are not essential. By right, they give comments, they give their opinions with the purpose of improving or developing your self-awareness. So we should be extra attentive towards those feedbacks and comments from our friends. There is no or it is not a surprise when even when you talk to strangers and they also give some comments, because those comments are more naturals, are more neutrals, and then these comments are not biased. So when there are no biasness towards about their comments,
these comments are more meaningful. So we should be paying attention so we can develop our self-awareness. Number 3, we need to seek out information about yourself, about ourselves. This is to reduce the blind self. It's like the blind spot. So how do you deal with the blind spot? And now we are talking about self. We need to overcome the blind self, in which we improve the information about ourselves through others. What do we mean by through others? Is to ask others what actually they see or they found about us, in where, and at the same time you actually do not know about yourself. So the increase of those sharing information will reduce the blind self. The less blind self you have, the better self awareness you would have. There are cases that we tend to feel afraid, and quite more often you feel the pressures that these comments or opinions will deviate or will demoralize ourselves in many ways. But we are wrong, because as long as you are aware about yourself, including the awareness, the strengths, the weaknesses, your self awareness is high, you are actually a better person. Yeah, the better person in terms of those Johari windows, because we need to balance out what things that we know that we do not know, and things that we do not know what we do not know. So the last one is to seek out information by asking yourself, by having this calculation about your honesty, sincerity and integrity. Why do we have these three? Because these are the values of self that we need to instill before we can actually deal with or can deal with problems from others. So the moment you actually try to fulfill the three: honesty, sincerity and integrity, the awareness, the kind of awareness that you have are more valuable, and then the self that you own are actually the values of others. Your friend will be more comfortable, they will appreciate you more, they will respect you, and acknowledge your weaknesses. So these four actually does not limit any other options, but knowing these four, we will become your the guidance for the next one. So we have to try hard to develop the self-awareness to avoid unnecessary issues when we deal with others. And the next one is about self-disclosure, where the self-disclosure is different from self-concept and self-awareness.
It focuses uh, on on information that you share with others. What do we mean by self-disclosure? It means giving other people information about you. It's not about how much information that you share, but how much actually people perceive and react to that information. You may feel that the information that you reveal um, benefit others, but this is something that you can't control, because the way you both the way how both of you would think about that information can be different. If you think that money is important, for example, maybe different with other people, because some people would perceive money as not important. This is not about right or wrong, but it is about yourself, how much information that you share with others. So the process moves from the hidden self to the open self. Things that should be the secret should be a secret for you. Now it becomes open self, because both parties, you and others, know about the information. It is the act of consciously and obviously exposing the information that you would normally keep hidden to the receiver. Self-disclosure only occurs when the communication involves at least two persons. If you tell yourself, like monologue, when you have the reflections about self within yourself, is not self-disclosure. Self-disclosure will happen when you involve another person with to listen to you, and both of you share the same mistakes, the same experience. It is dangerous to reveal information to others without knowing them. You tend to ignore the dangerous part of um, revealing certain information to others. As I mentioned much earlier, we do not know how much they would perceive about us, because they may have other intentions by knowing more information from you. So this is very subjective, and the people who did this can be among your close friends, um, but not strangers, because strangers do not ask a lot of questions, because strangers usually um, really have the intention or wishes to be um, to be details, and then having that information of yours can benefit them in many ways. You do not know for sure if the other person has any hidden plan or agenda. These are the risks that you have exposed because you even not you do not even sensitive or do not even worry if that um, the information that you share um, actually benefit others, because they wanted to create and always take this opportunity to work together with someone who has more information, so their diagram, then the information they have can benefit them in many ways. So the value of the information depends on the intention of the people who are involved in that particular communication. It we speaking of values, the definition of values are different from one to another. So you need to have extra careful when you disclose your information about yours to others. You must always consider um, their agenda, um, and then you will learn about limiting the information about yours to others unless they have the official request to to um, to 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 ask certain information from you, then it will be good to have that official request. But in terms of friendship or relationship, you don't really, these are, it can be tragic sometimes when you got to know that the people who actually backstab you is another um, backstab you, and then in other cases they use that information to for their backup. um, Somehow this is not our job to see or to understand why did they help or why they help us, because at the end of the day it's you actually should be responsible. The next one, then we will see how important self-disclosure is. Since we are looking at self, uh, the 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 disclosures or what motivates the disclosure can come from five factors. This is the that I can list down, um, which I identify identify as potential to influence your self-disclosure. You don't really share unless there are certain factors that motivate you to share that information with others. So the first one is your personality, meaning is yourself, the personality that you have actually prefer, um, or enjoy doing the sharing. It is not because of others, but it comes from you. There are people who voluntarily um, expose themselves to others due to some reasons such as popularity, marketing, or promotions. Yeah? So they need to have that personality. Without the sharing, the opportunity to share, you um, you you will have difficulties because people do not know, and then that's why you tend to share a lot of things with others to become open self. Besides personality, there are other elements like education, experience, skills that acquire that acquire sharing moments with others. On top of that, we have another element that influence our self-disclosure, which is the culture. In Western in Western countries, they practice individualistic and as opposed to collective. So those who practice in the individualistic uh, don't do not share almost everything. This is my own experience. When I was in London, uh, I I don't even know if my neighbor actually has moved to other houses, or even phone numbers or even names. We hardly know, unless I mean, I know some of them, but I do not know the whole family members, or the members of the family who lived in the next door. So we hardly chat to each other. We and it's very impossible for us to share about myself, in fact. So that culture is built within self as you grow with that community. Why did I say that? Uh, Living in London for almost 4 years has made me a person who do not share with others. And when I came back to Malaysia, I I know my neighbors. I know by the looks, but we I I do not know really like their jobs, um, their children, mm, mm, what how many years they have lived in the area, for example. And I realized about this when my mother shared with me what she knows about my neighbors. And then she asked me, don't you know? Then I said, no, I do not know. And many questions that I have to answer bluntly that I do not know, because I don't ask, and I expect people will do the same thing to me, meaning they do not ask me and I do not have to share about myself to others. It becomes it becomes I don't say weird, but it becomes abnormal when people surrounds you practicing the same thing without knowing the effect. And for yourself, you are clear why you don't share with them. So being different in that type of community, uh, slowly, soon or later, um, will put yourself into kind of pressure, yeah, because people expect you to know more because you live here and you've been living in that place for more than 10 years. It is abnormal, and if something is wrong with you when if you do not know your neighbors after that many years. So I have to agree that the culture uh, influence us. How do we do, or how much information that you actually share with others. Okay, then the next one is gender. Woman and men have different way of sharing information. Not like woman, man has um I mean the men are better in terms of hiding not sharing information with others, because the men themselves have the capacity uh, of keeping the information. Even if it's not a secret, they don't share unless you ask them about the about certain information. So gender um, play a role in determining the quality, the quantity of information that you think you should share with others. And then listeners, yeah, your audience can also provoke you to reveal certain information to others when they come with interest. They come with the interest to know more, like in the class, yeah, they come to know about certain subjects. You will definitely share, like what I did just now. I share about my living in London, my experience in London, and because it, it fulfill the needs of telling others. Okay, um, it's not about right or wrong, but as long as they have the interest to learn from you or to know from you, it is safe. But again, mm, we do not know if there is someone um, who have different intentions. Intention to use the information. And the last one is the topic. We can always see the scenario in coffee shop, where people get together watching football, get together watching news or drama, and because of that similarity, you kind of or you will have the tendency to share with others. Mm. That topic is actually the one which you together, and you will feel the excitement to tell others. After you did the sharing, you made the sharing with others, there um, there are two important things will happen after that. The first one is rewards. The second one is harm. Okay, how 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 do you see the rewards? Yeah, upon sharing, you will receive new perspective of ideas, new perspective um, through the discussion with others. If, as academician, for example, the new perspective is important because unable to see them, then that perspective will will create another tension. So you need the new perspective. The second is the coping abilities. You will have um, you will learn the new abilities because you need to cope with the pressures and with the demands made by the institution, like a news company. The news company always asks, yeah, always asks about the issues or the job that you are doing. So when someone um, or and when we are willing to share with others, you will have to deal with their behavior, their actions, their language. So indeed, in these coping abilities, you will have to practice more communication, and then over time, you will improve. You will add more, or you will require better coping abilities. And then besides new perspective and coping abilities, you will be able to improve communication. Yeah, because uh, the because you deal with many people. When you share information, you are dealing with human. There are actions and behaviors that you have to always deal with. So it means you have improved your communication. The improvements are important, so you become better speaker, you become better person, uh, to improve communication skills. Now we can see that sharing is good, especially when you receive new perspective, copying abilities, and improves communication. And now we we have to agree the sharing that you did is actually uh, give you more meaningful relationship. Yeah, meaningful relationship because you have shared so many information. It's like you know, you both of you know each other well, and when as you increase or reduce the gap, reduce the blind self or the hidden self, you actually um, you actually work towards a meaningful relationship. And speaking of relationship, you become a better person. So there are four actually rewards for those who do the self disclosure. Okay, so that is about rewards. Now let's look into the dangerous part of self disclosure. Mm, there are situations that we actually do not encourage you to share a lot of information, especially with strangers. This is not um, if we talk about strangers, doesn't mean that you can share anything with your friends just because you know them. Even friends can do a lot of things negatively with you if they think that they have the knowledge. So the first dangerous elements that we need to be very careful is the social rejection. Since people also have their do and don'ts, once they know about something about us that they actually do not agree in in do not agree in their life, so it becomes social rejection, meaning they will leave you, they will prefer not to be in your circle, because of that information, that particular information. And then it will lead you to material losses, like thief, they need password because they spend a lot of time with you. They tend to they tend to um, lost your money, lost your books, lost your pens. Hmm? Material is something not specific to money. It can be your lipstick, your slipper. Um, yeah. So just be careful with those information that you want to share. And the next one is the perceptions that you have built. Okay, I think that that information is actually easily forgotten. You are wrong, because some people they have longer term or longer you as you cannot erase what your listeners may have concluded. um, they tend to to see you as the same person, even though you are actually much older when you last met her. Mm. There are terminologies, or there are short form or longer form. Mm. There are people that can retain certain information in longer duration, longer hours on. Whatever it is, be careful, and you don't really share simply with others. Mm. It's really up to us when you want to share information with others. So that these those are the three things that we have covered: self concept, self awareness, and then self disclosure. These three elements will make you as yourself, which is as design, or as someone with your own characteristics. Mm, Again, there is no right or wrong, but your experience will tell you how much the awareness that you have in that particular time. So a good communication, what do we mean by good communication? Yeah, first you need to carefully weigh the role of the self in your communication. Put yourself in a dinner, for example. You must consider, is do you is it proper for you to share something about yourself, because you have your husband next to you? Then the husband actually um, should ask that question, not the wife. Okay, so introduction of the husband to others, not the wife. So you have to carefully weigh your role and you want to communicate. The second is to influence how others communicate with you due to your projected good image. Mm. Since communication is a skill, yeah, you must you must be able um, to develop that self-image through um, yeah, you share that information with others. And the third one is following the norms for intention and show sincerity and truthfulness. You need to be very selective. Yes, that's the right word. That is the right word. You need to be selective, um, mm, to ensure that you have the capacity of leading your family. And the third one, follow the norms for intention and show sincerity and truthfulness. Uh, we believe that the intention is the central part of your behavior, of your communication. So as long as you are that you have a similar intention, you can to show your sincerity and truthfulness in your relationship. Why do we mention about the two, sincerity and truthfulness? Because we are now uh, we are now secured uh, by not having a lot of information. mm, Consider how you receive and self-disclosure of others. How you receive the self-disclosure. You might consider listening carefully to what mm, is being said. So show sympathy and understanding, and openly express your sympathy during and after this disclosure. Why do we need to show sympathy? Yeah, because it is kind of making your conversation less and less. Mm? You wish to refrain from passing criticism and judgment. Only you, the one who knows. Uh, and the last one is to refrain from passing criticism and judgment. You must make sure that Isha and Maghrib, sorry, it's not refrain from passing criticism means you wait you need to be open-minded. Yes, you need to be open-minded before you can actually passing criticism and judgment. Yeah, you uh, you have less information to be shared. That actually mean that criticism and judgment can be very positive. Sometimes it will boost your your judgment. Your judgment becomes better, for example. Yeah. so so judgment is not good anyway. uh, you can be more judgment can be sometimes can be very awkward. Yeah? So judgment is not supposed to happen, especially when you meet them for the first time. So having these six techniques of good communication, we hope that we can be better person in communication. We will deal with we hope that good communication can always be uh, be a a role model. Yeah, to be role model of communication. We we hope that having this subject you will be more careful, and then you become more awareness, um, have the package of self. So since it's a process, you can always be at number 2, number 4, and then number 3 or number 1. It does not really happen as as you may imagine, but these good communication guidelines will offer some help. With that slide, we I would like to conclude that becoming fully aware of yourself is an advantage, and is and should be uh, With that, I would like to thank you for listening to my lecture. Hope to see you next time. Thank you again. Have a nice day and stay safe from COVID-19.